going to give the presentation. We had a few people who submitted some questions ahead of time.
First question, will I go to hell if I don't convert to Islam? I would like to share some part of Quran to explain this. Verse 69. Indeed, those who have believed in Prophet Muhammad and those before him, who we Jewish and Sabaeans or Christians, those among them who believed in Allah and the last day and did righteousness, no fear will there be concern them, nor will they give. Another verses also, 5. This day all good foods have been made lawful, and the food of those who were given the scripture is the lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them. And lawful in the marriage are chaste woman from among the believers and chaste woman from among the those who were given the scripture before you. When you have given them their due compensation, desiring chastity, not unlawful sexual intercourse or taken secret, lovers, and whoever denies the faith, his work has become worthless, and he in the hereafter will be among the losers. A lot of verses for answer, very helpful. Second answer, end of the page. Second answer, those who believe in one God may enter heaven with the permission of Allah. May Allah forgive every sin other than attributing a partner to Him. Main answer, I think, is. Second question, I think it is impressive that one of the Quran interpretation of God's creation extend the time of the creation to thousands of years rather than 6 days. This more accurately represent etc. Answer, short information about the Quran before the answering. There are two types of verses. Muhkam verses, meaning those verses which are obvious, not required in interpretations. Second, mutashabih verses, those verses required interpretations, meaning may vary based on the time and location. Fifth verse of chapter Sajdah is among mutashabih verses, which can be better understood and explained by those who have the knowledge and expertise, so-called mufassir, meaning scholar. Sometimes Allah may elaborate a verse with another 5 or 10 years later. Thus, to better understand a verse from Quran recurs to knowledge of verses that revealed before and after. We need to look at the context. Also, the knowledge of the reason of revelation is crucial to understand Quran. Yes.
There's a lot of reference to Sabaeans. What are Sabaeans?
Yıldızlara tapanlara Sabaean denir.
We called it, before Islam, there was also, maybe before Judaism too, people believe in stars and the universe is the spirituality was the whole about the biggest star was the god of something, and then the sun is something. So they were believing in the what you call archaeologic, the astronomic stuffs. That's why it repeated in the Quran.
Verse of Quran 32:5. He arranged each matter from the heaven to the earth, then it will ascend to him in a day, the extent of which is the 1,000 years of those which you count. Another verse 22:47. And they argue you to hasten the punishment, but Allah will never fail in His promise. And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count. Another verse also, the angels and the spirit will ascend to him during a day, the extent of which is 50,000 years. Extra information, time is different in the poles. For instance, normally a day in 24 hours, but in the poles, it's whole year, 6 months of day and 6 months of night.
Okay, I'd like to wrap up first couple questions. The first question was the popular things we hear some of our friends too, that they have to be a Muslim to go to heaven. So the answer is no, they don't have to be Muslim to go to heaven. The only requirement in Islam that you believe one God and do not associate anyone to Him. So if you don't believe God, you don't believe the hereafter either, so there's nothing to worry about that if someone do not believe it. So they can have different heavens, different hereafters, but the hereafter, most of us believe in the major books of Judaism and Christianity is the same one. So that was answering to that question mostly, and there's some Quranic answers in there in detail that we didn't read all of them. The second one is the Bible says about 7 days theory of the earth and heavens, and also in many books mentioned that. The answer here is that summarizing there is no time understanding of the time in hereafter, because we do not know, because it mentions multiple area He prepared. Sometimes it talks about 1,000 years, sometimes talks about 6 days, which is representing the six layers of the earth, similar to the Bible. So depends on the subject we're talking about. There's timelines are different, such as Prophet Muhammad has reached next to God overnight, came back. Technically it's a long way to go, so how he can go? So time is a complicated subject in there. Depends on the action, depends on what's going on. And certain things like the angels, it takes 50,000 years for them to deliver their spirit. So the time has been an unknown period for and many people ask about hereafter is endless, so you live forever. So because of the time concept does not exist. And the last thing we have, time is such a sacred thing in Islam that there's a verse regarding the time, and God says, I swear the time that humanity is in trouble. He puts the time, you swear at something that above you. Allah says Himself that I swear at the time that He's putting the time such a valuable level. So that was just another explanation. And then the last example, just a brief explanation that even in the world, in this earth, there's timelines are different. So sometimes, it's not 12 hours a day. such as the North Pole and others.
Okay, question 5. How much impact has frequent praying 5 times per day had on your beliefs? I believe that if Christians prayed 5 times per day, their own faith would be strengthened. Can you personally tell the difference between frequent and occasional praise? Absolutely, it does strengthen the faith of believers. I see it as a reminder that of the faith that there is no God but Allah, and we should pray to Him. Why? Does Allah in need of our prayers? No. But as a believer, I need to pray. I shall show my gratitude, but I don't pray because I need to pray. In fact, I pray because Allah orders me to pray, and I have to obey that order. So, having this mitzvah makes me an obedient servant of Allah, and always reminds me the order to be obeyed. Since these orders are frequent in the time, they become continuous and doesn't leave a gap in between each of prayers. By gap, I mean sins and wrong deeds. Thus, frequent prayers has strengthened my and all other faith. Okay. Next question. Okay. Next question. What Islam belief or saying has had the most impact on your life? It's my choice. Prayers 5 times a day. Verse of Quran, Allah said, "Recite, O Muhammad, peace be upon him, what has been revealed to you of the book, and establish prayer. Indeed, prayer prohibits immorality and wrongdoing, and the remembrance of Allah is greater, and Allah knows that which you do." Relate to the worship in Islam, rules, time, and frequency are determined by God. Each worship type has its own meaning and should be considered as important as the others. Another example, pilgrimage in Islam is obligatory for who can afford the necessary money at least once in a lifetime. Important note, all of the worships are done because of Allah's order. It's my choice. Another question, this last question.
Yeah, we're not going to go all of them.
Yeah, question 6. Answer. Before the answering, I want to say some important notes. Before Islam, Dark Ages, there was slaves, girls has no right. They can be buried alive. Injustice and cruelty. Yeah. After Dark Ages, before Islam, Prophet Muhammad came and his message was acceptable and good. Main reason to separate too quickly is the dedication of Prophet Muhammad and his companions. Extra information. Yeah, this so long.
This question was regarding it took 23 years to deliver the Quran to the earth, and it has, within those 23 to 40 years, it became actually the government. It became borders and reach out such a large area. And some of us wanted to know, like, how come they grow so fast, so quickly, and so effectively. So his personal answer was that the dedication and then the trueness of the message was, everyone was waiting for someone. Judaism they were reminding to the people that, there's another one coming. according to some books, and they were expecting it will be a Hebrew, but it wasn't a Hebrew. But they knew it, that was in their books too. So everyone was waiting some Sheikh called rescuer because of the time he was mentioning. That was pretty troubled time period. So that was the reason, and which right now some people trying to establish that kind of dedication to show that this faith can be represented with the true dedication of your good work and the true meaning of Islam.
Okay. Two really short questions also. I also want to talk about another question. Does Muslim read Quran? Muslim in general can read Quran in Arabic original letters, but cannot understand the meaning completely. It's very important notes. Another answer: one can discuss the topics in Quran with others to learn the meaning deeply. To understand Quran, one asks to experts, scholar of Quran or tafsir. The words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, other than Quran, are also one of the most important sources of Islam.
So this is the question earlier we were discussing with one friend. I do not know how to understand Quran because it's in Arabic and it's not my native language. But I do know how to read it because I recognize the letters and what word the letter gave. So we have to learn and read the Quran or any faith books in our language to understand what the message is. That is actually the obligatory. But right now, culturally, when people turn their age to be, or they want to be religious again, first thing they try to enforce them to read the Quran, finish the Quran one time. That's just cultural aspect of it, because at the end of the day, the meaning is more important than reading it. However, it has been strongly recommended to learn Quran and try to understand, of course, because it is the originality, the words that revealed, just like Latin in Christianity. That scripture. What is it? The Hebrew?
Hebrew for the Old
Okay.
Scriptures and Greek for the New
Okay.
Testament. Jesus
Okay.
spoke Aramaic.
Okay. So that's the spiritual reasons that people try to read it in and recite it in Arabic too. We have other questions, but we will stop here till our 30 minutes is done. And but I would like to answer some questions with his Turkish translation, so I can be clear. Some of them. I know a few more questions here too. But if you want to spend some time, if anyone has something that you really want to know now, yes.
So in Turkey, what is Muslim is the predominant religion?
Yes.
Is that the majority?
Yes. I believe 90%. Back in days, it used to identify at 95, 98%, some of the books. But since then, the life expanded quite a bit with the foreign investments and everything. Such as Dubai, don't have Dubaians anymore. So Arabs are not there anymore. But in Turkey, is especially Istanbul and others, there's Judaism, I think, number 2 faith, and then Christianity is number 3.
So it's legal in Turkey to have temples and churches?
Yeah, there are temples, churches, a lot of places, even the small towns like I came from. Yes?
I understand that the Quran is the word of God. What is the value? What is Sahih International? What does that mean? And what is its value, or how is it seen?
The value...
I mean, is it just a translation? Is that all?
No. That's why the Arabic version because Prophet Muhammad was Arab, and the Quran revealed through God spoke to him, and when he was sleeping, he was speaking in his sleep, and those are the words of God, not because he's unconscious, he's sleeping. So that's why that's God's word, not his word. Even though many people were saying, oh, he's crazy. But that makes it that secret to us, that those are the words of God. And then it's, when you read it in your language, maybe, I read in Turkish, and the sentences are not like really the ordinary sentences in there. It's a little bit different, not the style that we know, subject, object, verb in the middle. I think so. That's the God's words.
What's Sahih International? That's what we're asking. It says here,
Oh, where is-
Sahih International. Is that the translation
Sahih
of the
International.
Quran?
The most common one. Sorry, I didn't understand
Yeah.
what you said. Sahih International. Okay.
Is that the translation of the Quran that you use?
Or is that-
From
Yes.
Arabic, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that's the translation for the common translation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Google one. Yes.
So Vulcan, maybe you already covered this, but just how does one get to the afterlife? What does one need to do in preparation to get to the afterlife, besides praying 5 times a day and believing in Muhammad?
The short answer to that, well, according everybody will go hereafter, obviously, when we believe we all die and we go hereafter and the judgment day, etc. So every religion, pretty much, with the interfaith I learned, the same messages in every faith, pretty much. Why you're who you are, why are you doing all these things? So we are obligations that before, Mr. Gulen, the Hizmet movement we have, he does mention, before we are Muslim, we are human beings, and we have obligations as a human being to live. There's a life to live here, and we have to do what the human being duties that we have, and that covers a lot of things that we do here too. On top of it, our faith is like he's trying to mention, it's between you and God, and we don't do it for him. He doesn't need our prayers, but we need him to be forgiven here. So similar to what most books has, and in Christianity have that, there is pillars of Islam to follow, and then there is the common daily needs, such as being honest, not cheating, not stealing, not murdering, etc. But one day, one of our friends, Philip, he asked me about that. What is it to get to the heaven? So it is such a secret thing is here that believing God is the key of the door. You believe one creator, that is the gate, key of the gate, basically, to get there. So some people says, even this is a murder, this is that. There is some punishments even for Muslims. Quran doesn't say Muslims will not go to hell. It said Muslims will go heaven. That we can pay our dues in hell. If I'm a sinner, great, my sins are greater, and God decided not to forgive me, I will be going hell. However, just like if there's a parole, there is time, when the time is over, I am already being promised to go to heaven because I believed him. That is the key area. So when people say, especially the popular topics is ISIS and everything, because they say they are Muslim, fine, good, but that's not enough to go to heaven. There are a lot of better people than some of the Muslims that they're dedicating their lives here. So we believe God is fair, right? So he's going to be judging it on that fairness. So it's not that complicated to me, that perspective. But again, I'm just answering it as just a guy.
No, I get it. It's just a little
I'm not
different.
even
It's a little
scholar.
It's a little different from Protestantism.
What, different?
Different. We don't have a purgatory or waiting period, Believe in God, you do good deeds, you're going to go to heaven.
In Islam, there's actually, as with some of the older Christian faiths, there's different layers of heaven and different layers of hell. So depending upon your deeds and how good you are, you can land yourself very high up or quite low down. Is heaven still great at the lower level? Yeah, it's heaven. it's paradise. It's beyond what you can imagine. And is hell beyond imagination? Absolutely. But there's many layers of it, and there's many things that go into that or can put you in one place or out of one place. One of the most favorite hadiths or stories was there was a known prostitute who had stopped at a well to get water, and there was a dog there who was very thirsty. And she took the water out of the well, put it in her shoe, and put it down for the dog to drink. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, she is going to go to heaven. She just earned it. Do you understand? So this is a known prostitute, but even all her deeds, that really selfless act of kindness was the one thing that earned her not having a purgatory or a hell. So you don't know what will get you one way or the other. So the rule of thumb is what? Use your best judgments. So you do the best you can, and you be the best version of yourself that you can, and then you leave everything to Allah's judgment, because I trust that more than I trust somebody else to judge me. I trust Allah's judgment that knows everything and sees everything. God's judgment that knows and sees everything is greater than mine can possibly be. And by that standard, you don't know, you can't say one person is going to hell for sure, or one person is going to heaven for sure. There's no way for us to know, because God knows what's in your heart. God knows what deeds you've done when no one is looking. And God knows, what bad things you've done when no one's looking. And then that's the fair judgment for that, not us. So I always say, if anybody says you're going to hell, ignore them. And just be a good human being. And that's the best place to start from. It is written in the Quran, like Volkan said, that the key, he used the example, the key to the door is just belief in the Creator.
Thank you so
Interpretation, which is the biggest challenge right now, because many politic things you can see, the reference is always hadith. Prophet said this way, Prophet did this way, rather than the Quran is a background saying, Quran said this, that's why I'm doing this. Because that has been interpreted differently. That's what's our Muslims' challenge right now within ourselves, that the interpretation based on persons or those scholars' opinion. Also, the diversity is such a great thing in Islam. I just mentioned, I don't know how to read Quran, how to read